Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau. Just call me Billy. Everyone does. And you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.
All right, welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I am Nasty Neil.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
Which would make me Terrible Troy.
Yes, and joining us right off the bat here, Courtney Gaines of The Burbs, Children of the Corn, all kinds of stuff, and some new stuff which we'll talk about. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thanks. How you doing?
Very good.
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah. Now, I don't know where to start, because we initially were going to have you on because they were showing The Burbs just a few weeks ago at one of our midnight showings, and it's really fun to go and see the classics, the cult movies on the big screen. And The Burbs is awesome. It's great, a lot of fun to watch, and like that has such like a great cast of like so many like creative people. What was that like to work with all those people at once?
Well, the first off, The Burbs, when we were shooting it, there was a big writer's strike happening during that time, and so on the Universal lot, it was us and Fletch 2, and that is it. So it was like Universal was kind of a ghost town, and I was too young to realize how. Everybody was like, "Wow, you're really fortunate to be working." I really didn't quite understand the magnitude of how many people were out of work at that time. So I was really fortunate to be working.
Yeah.
That was number one. Number two, really, for me, the challenge was this character who was supposed to be kind of, fish out of water, or, foreigner in a different land. Everywhere I looked were people that I recognized and admired. Like, oh, there's Bruce Dern. Oh, there's Carrie Fisher. Oh, there's Tom Hanks. So that was really the challenge, to shake that off and do my job.
Mm-hmm. You do very well. Even there's a great scene. I know it's part of editing too, but when you come out of the house initially and you're looking around and you just seem exactly what you said, like the fish out of water, just like an alien in this neighborhood.
Yeah, that scene sort of opened a dialogue with Bruce Dern and I, who I was, like I said, already a fan of. When he saw the scene, he came up to me afterward and he was like, "That was really good work, Hans. That was good work." And he started talking to me after that and started, giving me some really good advice about the business and about acting, and which was great. Like I said, I was already, really had a lot of respect for his work. So.
Yeah. So he called you Hans during filming?
He called me Hans. It was funny though,
Yeah, definitely. I guess that helped you keep in character too, I would think.
No, that was just being funny. But and he did a little bit of improv in the thing, and like, for example, which is a line I hear often, "Hey Pinocchio, where are you going?" That was just an improv line that he did, which was absolutely a great line.
Yeah. Was there a lot of that on set with everybody? A lot of ad-libbing?
No, not a ton. Really, he was the only one that was really doing it, and he wasn't doing it a lot. But when he did, it was, and it was sometimes not even necessarily just lines. Like when he was picking at the wallpaper in that scene, that's just something he did.
Really?
That was awesome. Like in the rehearsal, all of a sudden he just starts, starts shooting. He starts tearing at the wallpaper, which that was really funny.
Yeah. You said, being on set, that it was only two other films, or one other film being made, but that's like a historic set with a lot of movies and shows have been based on that street. And does that add at all to the atmosphere when you're there, knowing all these different movies and whatnot have been filmed there?
Yeah, I think that was definitely cool, and I think honestly, as time's gone on, it's even cooler because you can go all the way back to the Munsters, before us, and you can go all the way to Desperate Housewives after us. It just continues to be that cul-de-sac. Seems like, I don't know, maybe it's good luck or something, because a lot of success has been shot on that cul-de-sac.
Yeah, definitely. And you had a very interesting facial hair in the film, and I which I'm wearing right now. No, but
nice. Well, the real trick was, they would put that spearmint gum on it, that really thick like hair stuff, if you will. So it would just with a comb, so it would just stretch it out, so it would just stand up. So that's what made it look really, really funny. And yeah, Joe Dante had a lot of ideas of how he wanted my character to look, which was great. You know, he knew about the teeth, the bad haircut, and he just kept laughing every time he saw me, saying, "You're never going to work again. You're never going to work again. This is great."
Which didn't come true, fortunately.
No. But the joke being that you look awful.
Yeah.
Which was great. But yeah, I mean, everything, the ideas of the clothing, the fabric they picked to make the leaders, and everything was really, Joe really knew what he wanted, and it really, really gave me a lot of direction. I mean, a lot of ideas of where I was heading. So that was great. A lot of times you don't get all that. A lot of times you got to figure that stuff out for yourself a fair amount. So he really brought a lot to the game.
How much of a difference does it make to have people involved in the movie that are so intense on that direction to detail, on the attention to detail?
It depends. It depends on the situation. Sometimes it can be a stifling thing if they're not open to any ideas or anything, and sometimes it can be a great thing. And in this time, like I said, in this case, it was a great thing because I wasn't sure what they wanted or what they were looking for. And he gave me a lot of direction. Like even the accent. He's like, I want you to come up with some sort of like European, like Yugoslavian, so but don't make it anything exactly anybody would recognize, So that was an interesting challenge into itself to sort of come up with an accent and find an accent that you definitely knew was, and that was part of what's your accent? Slavic? Like he could never, Bruce Dern's character was always trying to peg us, and he never knew exactly where we were from,
Yeah.
But yeah, he gave a lot of ideas, but he was open too. I mean, he was very encouraging. When you're especially doing a comedy and you see your director there smiling or laughing, and when things are going well, that's good. That encourages you.
Mm-hmm. And you said it can be.
Did it get pitched that you were supposed to be? Because I mean, technically, your family, they're the villains in this movie. Was there any ideas of that in your head as you were performing that character, or was it more of this, sad case where it's been mentioned the fish out of water thing? Do you have to have any kind of villainous element while you were doing this?
Well, what was interesting about the project is we didn't really know if we were fully guilty or not. We didn't have an ending before we started shooting, which is not. It's a bit of a no-no. We ended up doing three endings. That scene at that big scene at the cul-de-sac with all the ambulances and all that stuff. We shot that twice. We shot it, thought the movie was over, and came back a month later and shot some more. So it was that all of that was pretty interesting. Even at the end when they added the skulls in the trunk, that was added in post even 6 months later. So they kept working on trying to get the ending right. I kind of kept lobbying for. I thought it was actually more powerful if we weren't guilty, if we just had looked guilty and then got accused. But that's not what they went for in the end.
Yeah. So, but they did film that ending where you guys were not you were innocent.
No, we never went that route. But when we first started filming, we really didn't know we were guilty until we finally got those pages, and that was way toward the end when we actually shot those scenes. So we did shoot a lot of it not knowing if we were or if we weren't, which maybe was good. Maybe it was a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, have you ever actually had sardines on pretzels?
No. But then the funny thing about that whole thing was obviously that the sardines line, all that people ask me to sign that on things all the time or whatever. But was that Tom Hanks had just had Big come out, and one of the great things in that movie is all those the things he does with the food, like eating that little corn and all that. So he didn't want to do anything too many prop things with the food thing. So we ended up settling on the sardines, and him just doing what the bit he did with that, which ended up being great. But it was way understated compared to what he did in Big.
Yeah, I do have to ask, because you talked about being Bruce Dern giving you advice and admiring his career. What's your favorite Bruce Dern role? I'm really big on Silent Running, actually. But.
That's a tough call. I mean, for me, it's not even like which film per se. It's just he plays like, he plays bad guys really well. You know, he plays, whether it be, he's a mayor of a town or something else. He knows how to, what my acting coach would call play son of a bitch. He just knows how to play those guys. The guys you love to hate. What he told me was, what he was famous for, and early on in his career was he shot John Wayne in the back in a Western. I forget what the name of the Western is right now. But at the time, John Wayne was such a hero that was so appalling that, he couldn't get anything but bad guy roles for years after that because he was hated. He was literally hated in America for, cowardly killing, shooting John Wayne in the back.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, those things that will happen in your career that will shape, how it goes.
When you had the facial hair, did you ever leave it on when you left set, like walk around the town or anything?
No, we shot. The one thing that was interesting about that project was we shot. It's almost all nights, and so we were shooting, locally in LA at night, which was really tough because if you're at least on location, you shoot nights. You go to your hotel room and you pass out. No one's really going to bug you. But when you're still in town, you're constantly getting phone calls or trying to live your normal life. You're trying to get things done before you go to work. It was taxing. I was being on the night shift for 3 months, which I had never done before. Yeah, shooting 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. regularly,
No.
So really all I was doing was getting home after shooting.
Yeah.
The nice thing is looking exhausted probably added to the appearance of your character.
Yeah, it didn't hurt, did it?
Were you, anything in particular going through your mind when you're smashing the trash? Because you really go into town on that trash. I was wondering if you were picturing it as anybody.
I can't remember. I just remember again, that the emphasis was that we want to be suspicious of these people, and I don't know. Who knows how many takes that was in, and I probably was It's just my own frustration at some point.
Yeah.
You're just being physical and you just get aggressive. I don't know. I really don't remember what all I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it worked. Definitely worked.
Exactly, yeah. You mentioned being really young on the set of Burbs, and, you were even younger on Children of the Corn. What is it like making a feature film where you're a prominent role, being so young?
Well, I've been studying, in a professional workshop from the time I was 13, so that was 5 years, adults in the class, and my acting mentor was a guy named Virgil Fry, who was a working actor, and I had been chomping at the bit to, prove I could do something, and everybody kept telling me back then it was all about being 18 and looking younger because of the emancipation laws. Back then you really had to be of legal age to be able to work an 8-hour plus day. So kind of caught the whole teen cinema thing at the right time. I was I had 5 years of training. I was 18, but I looked like I was 15. So exactly what people said, as soon as I turned 18, I just started working. And, Children of the Corn was the first one. And it was just, for me, it was just about proving I belong, to not proving it to necessarily everybody else, proving it even to myself, and, I was just all business. That's all I can say. I was just all business.
Yeah.
And it was a really good first experience. I had no idea it would go on to become, this, 100 credits later, probably still the most famous thing I've done. I mean, I would have never predicted that.
Yeah. What do you think it is about that movie that, after all these years, it's still even, new generations grasp to it? What is it that holds up?
Yeah. I guess, I think the idea of, kids doing, something, taking, the idea of them taking over town or killing the adults, I think that, is still, somewhat of a shocking notion. I think in the 80s, I think it was, it fit perfectly along with the consciousness of, metal rock and roll, I mean, that kind of, metal that was going on in the Sunset Strip in LA. I think it was a lot of teenage rebellion going on at that time. Mm-hmm. And I think it fit that to the T.
Yeah. You said you had 5 years experience by the time you're making that movie acting, But you're on set with a lot of other child actors who I assume probably don't have quite that experience. Was that troublesome at all, being on set with a bunch of child actors?
Actually, it wasn't. I mean, John, it was Franklin was, a seasoned, theater actor in Chicago. Even though he was young, he was a little bit older than I was, but he even looked younger. He's so small. But so he had some really good training himself. He had more theater experience than I did. I just had a lot of professional classes that I studied at. The rest of the actors, most of them, quote unquote extras in it, were all local high school, actors, high school theater, but they were great. I mean, they were just really committed and really focused in whatever they were asked to do. They jumped on it and did it well. I thought it was. I've always said that. I thought that for this small town in Iowa, that we should be shot out of Sioux City, that the local talent, the local extras were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Your interaction with John Franklin Isaac and Malachi, that stuff's great, and he's really
awesome.
and he's really a villain. We usually talk about liking the villains on the show, and then there's always a few villains that are unlikable, but they're still really well performed. But I think that's definitely a guy you can't really root for Isaac when you see him on camera.
Yeah, that's true, and I think we're both voted in whatever the top 10 or top 20 creepiest kids in film of all time or whatever, which is pretty amazing though. I mean, when you think about that,
Yeah, definitely.
And Fritz Kirst, the director, he definitely kind of had a little tension going on set, not necessarily so much between John and I, but the little kids, he told me don't be friendly with them.
Scary.
Just don't ever be nice to them. Don't let them get comfortable with you, which I think was kind of good. I think he did the same thing with Peter Horton with me. I think he's just told Peter don't be nice to that guy. So there was a little bit of tension going on like that,
Mm-hmm.
Which I think in a way was good.
Yeah. Now, do you and John, I guess you see each other at conventions and stuff. Do you guys still have a friendship?
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways it's just based on the fact that it was both of our first project, and it went on to be our most notable thing. It's in that way it's kind of kept us related. It started out. We originally started doing conventions. Gosh, I don't know. 10 years ago or something on our own, and then I eventually got a manager, Chris Rowe, who does that stuff, and then I brought John in, and so we do conventions together. I think it's the 30th anniversary this year, right? So
wow,
we're doing we're doing conventions kind of because of that a bit, and then we're actually trying to get a project off the ground ourselves right now that kind of spoofs our personas doing conventions, doing a comedic version of us running around at conventions, kind of an odd couple-ish type thing,
Yeah.
And we've shot some stuff. It's called Horrified, and we're going to shoot a couple more things and putting a trailer together, and we're gonna shop it and try to get it going because we have fun working together.
Oh, that's very.
And he also is a writer. John's he wrote Children of the Corn 666. He also starred in, but he's also written other things, so he's a good writer, and I've produced a few things. So together we're a pretty good team.
Cool. And there was one not too long ago that's got a bunch of that they were showing when we were in Charlotte. It was kind of a similar idea. It was like Kane Hodder and some of the guys playing up like the convention scene, and I think that it really plays well too at the conventions for those. For those fans.
Yeah, most people usually think kind of about doing another horror project within the horror convention things. I don't know if anybody's done comedy. That'd be funny if Kane Hodder's in it. That would be funny.
Yeah. Nope.
He does a lot of cons. So I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
He was actually in. He had a small role in going back to another '80s film, Hard Bodies, that I did, which I think was the second film I did. He played one of these. He was a stunt guy in it, but he played these sort of group of nerdy guys as well. Mm-hmm. And so we're gonna shop it.
Hi, this is Kane Hodder, Victor Crowley, Jason from Friday the 13th. You're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.
Yeah, and we're back here, and we're still joined by Courtney Gaines.
Hey.
Yeah, I forget what we were talking about. I believe it was something very important, though.
I think we were talking about Children of the Corn, but I think we about wrapped that up. Anywho, I think we were good.
All right. Yeah, you got some new stuff on the horizon. It's very cool.
Yeah. Which one do you want to talk about?
It's Field of Lost Shoes, Civil War film. You
cool.
Give everybody just a brief synopsis of what it's about?
Sure, I actually want to read it off the IMDb. How's that?
That's
based on a true story of the American Civil War, culminating at the Battle of Newmarket, May 1864. A group of teenage cadets sheltered from the war at the Virginia Military Institute must confront the horrors of an adult world when they are called upon to defend the Shenandoah Valley. Leaving behind their youth, these cadets must decide what they are fighting for. And there it is. So yeah, it's based on a true story of the cadets. The only time in American history where students have actually fought in a war. They were the Virginia Military Institute, which is the second military institute built after West Point, and on the in the South, it's a really big deal. It's like 3 generations of Pattons had gone there. Stonewall Jackson taught there. His horse is buried there. The clothes he died in the war are there in their museum. I mean, it's a big deal, which I didn't know. So that was and we actually got to shoot there, which was really cool. And I just saw the premiere yesterday, and it came out really good. I was really happy with it.
Very cool. So, now, do you fight for the North or the South?
It's a story from the South point of view, which is not very common.
No, it's not.
The losers don't usually get to tell their side of the story, so it's done. It's done very respectfully in that regard, and they go to some pretty painstaking efforts to make it not all about slavery and such, so you like these kids, And I play one of the teachers at the institute, Captain Chinook, who is the one that's appointed to take them to the battle. So they have to, in real life, they have to march 50 miles in 2 days, and they're just supposed to be in a reserve, like 250 students in a reserve, to look like there's more people there than there is. But they ended up getting involved in the skirmish, and it was the last battle the South ever won, the Battle of Newmarket. And they actually charged these cannons and kind of turned that battle around. And in the process, like 250 students, over 100 got injured, and 10 died. And 9 of them are actually buried at the Virginia Military Institute. They're actually buried there.
Wow.
So it's pretty serious stuff in the South. It's in Virginia. So it was an interesting project to get involved in, and hear their the point of view of what it was like from a Southern point of view to degrees. More than So that was really cool, and I'm really happy the way it turned out. It's going to get a limited theatrical release on September 26th. So 30 cities across the country. So we'll see how it does.
It's got an awesome cast. I mean, you're in it. David Arquette, Keith David.
Yeah.
Who's the man?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tom Skerritt.
David Arquette actually plays Captain DuPont from the North, and he and one of the where's the characters? He actually helps after the war. He actually helps rebuild it. This Captain DuPont, and they actually have a plaque of him at the because they burned it after this particular battle. They came back and fought again, and they burned the place around. The Virginia Military Institute, but this DuPont guy who caused that didn't forget about that, and so later became a congressman and helped rebuild it, along with John Weiss, who was one of the actual cadets in the battle.
Was this a story you knew about at all before you got involved in the film, or? No,
not at all. Not at all. I'd never even heard of Virginia Military Institute, but I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, if you get only 400 students get in there a year, and if you're like going to pursue a military career, it's you in a sense have it made. And even then, half the students drop out. Or they don't make it through the 4-year program. That's how tough it is. So it's a really and it's ironically shares the same driveway with Washington Lee University, which is a very liberal school. So like two opposite schools right next to each other.
Yeah.
They do a lot of pranking apparently. It just seems pretty fun. But no, I had no idea of this story, and that was what was really cool about it for me. Kind of like Memphis Belle was for me when I did that all those years ago. I didn't know that story either, and that's something I like about doing American history things. You learn some things along the way. Yeah, and I did kind of ironically too. I mean, last time I was in Memphis Belle, I was the kid. This time I'm their captain. So 20 years later, it's kind of come full circle.
Yeah. And another history piece, Texas Rising, if you'd like to tell everybody what that's going to be about.
Yeah, Texas Rising is basically about the battle for Texas between Sam Houston's troops, which is played by Bill Paxton, and General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, played by Oliver Martinez. And then from there it gets and the rise of the Texas Rangers. It's an 8-hour, it's a 4-episode, 8-hour miniseries. The guys who did the Hatfields and McCoys are doing this, and it's just an epic project. They're down in Mexico shooting like for 5 months. So I was down there for a couple months shooting in Durango, Mexico, and it's just a really big scope project, hundreds of extras and huge sets, and got some great people in it. Brandon Fraser and Ray Liotta and Bill Paxton and Crispin Glover, which we were talking about a little bit earlier. You're a Crispin Glover fan, right?
Yes, I am a huge Crispin Glover fan. Always interesting in any role he's in or any interview. And apparently you've worked with him before. Yeah.
Well, first thing I ever did was a short film for AFI that Crispin was the lead in. And they've actually done 3 versions of that. It's released as a thing called the Beaver Trilogies. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But Sean Penn had done the role once, and Crispin had done the role. But so the first thing I ever did, I go to rehearsal. It's in a boys' bathroom. I'm supposed to be stoner dude smoking in the boys' room, and the director's like, "Okay, let's rehearse." And then Crispin Glover comes out of the bathroom stall, dressed like Olivia Newton-John in that '80s black outfit she wore. And he's like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And I was just like, "What is this?" And I just said, even right then, I thought, this guy is brilliant. and then we did that, and then shortly thereafter that, he got the big role in Back to the Future, which I ended up having a small role in, but we've known each other ever since. And so this was like our 3rd time working together, and he plays a character named Mosley Baker in this thing. He acts as a soldier, and he's got a beard, and he's not playing like kooky character or any of the stuff that he's crazy stuff he's known for. It's a really nice, straight character for him, and I think it's going to be a different side of Crispin than people have seen. So it's very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do have a question here from Mr. Bob Elmore. He wants to know about sitting down where the toilets were in Denver.
Yeah, what do you want to know about?
He just apparently wanted me to bring this up on the interview here.
I believe we did a photo with several of us, iconic bad guys at a convention where I think we were all pretending to go to the bathroom. I think that's what he's referring to.
All right. Well, that guy apparently was a good time.
Yeah, apparently good times. That's it.
And let's see. Brad Thacker wants to know about the time you played with Fish.
Ah, okay. So the long story there is that right before Can't Buy Me Love came out, so that dates the time, I was hitchhiking across the country from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I got picked up by the bass player from Fish before they were big, and we became friends. And they had this prank they wanted me to do for years to a friend of theirs who was always pranking them, who was deathly scared of children in the car. And so we finally pulled that prank off and scared the guy. And, I got to go on stage and play with Fish in Vegas. That's the long and short of it. So, yeah, I've known those guys for a long time and watched them become the, great jam band that they are. And there's a great jam band scene in Burlington, Vermont, where they're from, too, as a whole. It's a really cool college town.
That's very cool. Apparently, I was not aware of this, but your character's referenced in one of their songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was told anyway. Perhaps it was a lie, but that's what they say your character from Children of Corn is referenced.
That I didn't know. It's possible.
Well,
I didn't know that, though.
Well, see, it's a learning experience coming on the show as well.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
Yeah, we'll have to find that out. Millie wants to know, after filming Children of Corn, what did your friends, non-actor friends, how did they take to the role, to the movie?
I think the biggest thing my non-actor friends was we were right out of high school. I think they mainly were looking to just see if my head was going to blow up or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's all they were really looking for. I think that they were honestly just surprised, and I think my parents are probably even more surprised. My mom was definitely not a horror person. Was definitely a little bit taken aback by the whole thing. And my father was just like, I didn't know you had that kind of anger in you, which maybe was more wisdom than I realized at the time.
Was there any backlash at all about, a movie, with kids killing adults?
At the time, horror was not what it is today. I think you have, I think it's a more respected, and actors in it are more respected. I just remember getting bad reviews. That's what I remember. Mm-hmm. I remember them ripping us pretty good, even though it went on to do very well in the box office and has now, still runs off the shelf 30 years later. But yeah, horror was not, it was like B film, and so that's all I remember. But what was really shocking for, John and I was out in the world, the backlash. People, kids would see us or whatever and start, running to their mothers crying and stuff like that. And that was really shocking for us, and I can't tell you how many people come up to me and told me they've had nightmares of the character. Hundreds of people told me that, Mm-hmm. So it really, that movie and I guess John and I, we really got into the subconscious of American minds, which was, who knew? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was pretty overwhelming for a while. That took a while to kind of get comfortable with and accept. And I realized the power of cinema at that point, to influence,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you ever asked to do any of the sequels?
There was a couple times in 666. There was some talk with John, but they didn't want New World or New Line. They didn't want to come up with the money. And then there was some talk when Don Borchers, the producer of the first one, directed the remake for Sci-Fi. I was trying to go do a cameo on that, but I ended up bad weather on his part and another job on my part. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it just hasn't been meant to be to bring that guy back.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the sequels?
Some pieces, but not. I've seen John's, of course.
Yeah. 666.
But, I don't even know if they're really, I don't call them even sequels. I don't know if it's totally fair, because it's not like they're continuations, most of them,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're new concepts with the same title, But it's sure, they sure made a lot of them, and it has a weird history of breaking actresses. There's been a lot of actresses who've been in Children of the Corn movies that have gone on to do well.
No. Well, yeah, even the first movie. That's very cool, though. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just so you know,
was it even Eva Mendes in one of them and stuff like that? You can just do there's a whole history.
Yeah, I was just going to say though. I know you said there's a lot of them, but the Children of Corn 666 that wasn't the actual 666 sequel to Children of the Corn.
It's what's the sixth, and it's the in a way it is the closest one to any kind of real sequel. It picks up John's character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
20 years later or whatever. It's just compared to the other ones.
Yeah. And did you see the remake?
Yeah, the one on Sci-Fi. Yeah, I did see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, what did you think of it?
I think it's unfair for people to compare it to the other one. First off, I think that Don Borch is like I said, the producer of the first one, the director of the second one, and producer attempted to really do something much closer to the original short story.
Mm-hmm.
I think so I think in that way, it was a different adaptation. And I think it's really unfair that the actor who played Malachi gets compared. I don't think that's fair at all. I think even John, the guy, the kid, this little kid that played John's character. So it was all just a different tone. I just didn't feel the Malachi character was as aggressive in the Sci-Fi one.
Yeah.
So that's not the actor's fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how the character was written.
Right.
He played the character that was written, and I think he did a fine job.
Yeah, that's really, a big part of the first one is Malachi and Isaac. The one's a real aggressive, the strong guy. One's, like kind of the brain guy. So, you kind of lose.
Right, and that dynamic work. I think the other thing that was in the Sci-Fi one was I thought I can't think of the actress's name who played the woman. I thought she was a really good actress, but her character was not likable. Like she was tough.
Oh, yeah.
She was really mean, which was actually much closer to the short story. But I think the problem with that was when she got killed. I think people were like okay with that.
Yeah,
they were like, she just been busting that guy's balls the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, were you guys? Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, so just a different tenure,
Yeah. Were you allowed to have real weapons on the set? I know you were 18, but like some of the other people? Some of the other child actors?
God, I think most of the time they were props. I think I had like 3 different knives. I had one that blood was supposed to come out of, so if you did something, but that never works. They just did the AB blood thing where one has the one part of it on, and the other one has the other part like it's on his chest, and you just run it across and it makes blood.
Yeah.
Then I had one that was a prop, like a rubber one. Then I think I had one, like kind of real knife, that was dull, but it looked metal.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I think the kids were pretty much having to use, props. But they kept everything they kept things very safe on that show.
Yeah.
They ran a good show.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're looking forward to you in Field of Lost Shoes, Texas Rising. Now, Field of Lost Shoes, it says you have a limited theatrical release at the end of the year, and Texas Rising.
September 26th.
Oh, so coming up
Field of Lost
soon.
Shoes. And then, Texas Rising should be April 2015.
Yeah, that's going to be on History Channel?
Yep.
Very cool. Well, it was a pleasure to talk to you.
You too, y'all. Y'all take care.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
This is Irwin Keys, and you are listening to WithoutYourHead.com, baby.